Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on our Easy Facility, EZLeagues webinar. Glad to see you all in here today. Today's webinar, like I just mentioned, will really be focusing on EZLeagues specifically. We'll go into groups, of course, with that as well, but really focusing on EZLeagues itself. We, of course, had an initial webinar a few weeks ago where Michael Vidal and some of our other team members introduced the new update with EZLeagues there. Today, I'll sort of be doing a continuation of that. I'll be going over initially some of the updates and new features and visuals we have here. After that, I'll then be going through some questions and concerns that were submitted previously. And then after that, I'll open up the floor. I'll take in some of the questions that you all have here. Of course, throughout the webinar here, please feel free to drop in any questions you have or concerns there. I'll do my best to work through those throughout the initial few moments here, but I will certainly, like I said, leave the floor open for that after as well. Okay, and I actually do apologize, should have done this initially. If you could all just raise your hands in the attendee section of the toolbar for GoToMeeting there, just to confirm that you can all hear me or see me, that would be great, or feel free to throw it in as a question there and I can see those as well. All right, awesome. Thank you all so much for that there. Okay, and then lastly, just before we do jump in officially here, I'll touch on this again at the end of the call here, but as a reminder, just like with any of the webinars we've done or really any videos we introduce, if you're logged into your EC Facility account, open up the question mark here on the top right. From there, you'll see events and webinars. So after this is done, usually we'll have this uploaded within at most a few days. You can jump in here and rewatch this back, or of course go through other ones that we have done in the past, such as the one a few weeks ago done by Michael Vidal. All right, so going to initially start here in Easy Facility. So for this, I'm going to jump into groups here. And what I actually feel is the biggest update or new feature with EZLeagues or just groups in general here is of course here in the group section. So previously, if you, let's say, for example, had a league that had 6 teams in it, right? If you publish that over and you create the schedule with it, right? From there, if teams 7 and 8 came back to you and said, hey, we'd like to register for this league, right? That's no problem. You can go through and so let me just check on one thing here. Okay, had a notification pop up there. But essentially, if you already published a league over to EZLeagues and then new teams came to register, you could have them register for that in the group, but it wouldn't auto update into EZLeagues with what you already published over, right? So with that, right, that's now different there. But essentially, you can now make the updates you can make through EZLeagues are a lot easier from the groups here. So for example, if I go into EZLeagues here, right? Obviously, you have your leagues and your tournaments here you can go through. So for example, and actually, my apologies, let me jump back out to the tournaments here. So if you have this one of these tournaments published over, right, we have this easy tournament pool play schedule, right? Through here, right, currently we have in here 10 teams published over, right? Which is obviously from the groups there. So if teams 11 and 12 come back to you and they say, hey, we'd like to register, they can do that through the groups here, no problem, right? But it will not auto update within EZLeagues here, right? Now, currently that's still the case where it would not auto update, but you're now able to bring those over much more easily in the system here. Okay, so really with EZLeagues, right, let's focus on the EZLeagues portion for right now. Obviously visually, right, we have a lot of updates here. Compared to the old version, it's a lot easier to move through and go through overall. And really from here, right, you have all of your leagues sorted out. If I go into a league here, right, much easier view. You can still edit all of the league info here, right? And this being obviously what would have been published over from the group. So none of this, really, change there, but we have all those updates obviously available. Your teams are all still here, right? All the games are still here. So operating still in a very similar fashion, but a lot easier to move through. And obviously visually, we have a lot of things now matching the EZ facility side of things here as well. So let's actually open up the floor here. And I see we do have one question here about EZLeague. So is there a way to make our EZLeague website URL easier for members to find? I mean, really with the EZLeague site, right, you have the public site here. If you click the globe here, it opens up the public site, which I actually already have open here as well. Really, that's up to you guys, right? However you would like to share that. Obviously, you can take the link and post that wherever you need to. And obviously, you have the menu here. So whether you post just a home page for the public site or you post the specific leagues page for it, however you want to go about that, you can easily share those links. Additionally, when you are logged into EZLeagues here, if I scroll down to your website, right, you do have some iframing capabilities here. So iframe integration. Now what iframing will do, right, it's different just compared to just sharing a link, right? Iframing would, for example, if you look at the leagues page here, right? So we're in the leagues page right now. Essentially, it will take a cutout, right, of all the leagues listed here, sort of this portion here, right? And you could actually embed that on your website, for example. So that way, as clients are scrolling through your website, right, they are not just scrolling down, finding a link and clicking on it. They would scroll through your website and they would see this portion of this page essentially embedded on your website, entered in there. So I know a lot of clients will do that just to share that information more easily. You also then don't have to take a link from each individual league or each individual tournament and share it that way. This way you can just share those more en masse. And that way they can click on the league or the tournament itself and it brings them to the public site here. Also though, assuming when you publish the group, right, you brought over the registration link with it as well, right? They could then hit register online and they can register into that league or tournament or that group right from there as well. So I would say iframing it generally is the best way to share those links, but where you share those or how you want to share those, obviously that is up to you. Okay. So let me actually jump back to groups here. So I was mentioning at the beginning that I think one of the best upgrades or one of the best features we introduced here is through groups here. So if we're in groups here, right, and let's say I open up League Winter 2023, right? So we open up this group, right? We see the group name, we see our filters here, we see all those entered in, right? And down here, we see currently that we have 4 teams, right? So if I wanted to publish this over to EZLeagues, simply at the top of the group, I'm clicking Publish to EZLeagues. You would fill out the required fields there, and you would bring that over, right? Now, currently, this is already published to EZLeagues as a league, right? Let me go here, right? You would be able to find that whether you publish it as a league, you would see that all filled out here, or if it was a tournament, you would of course see that here as well, right? Either way. So here's the thing, right? Currently in this group, we have 4 teams published over because we published the entire league itself. But let's say today that team 5 and 6, they come in and they'd like to join this league, right? No problem. Either they would register and pay online, you would get everyone entered in, or maybe if you go about it the other way where you would manually fill in those teams here. Now for this example, I'm going to go ahead and manually fill in those teams. So I will enter teams 5 and 6 here. So I'll throw in team 6 as well. Right, so now down here we have teams 5 and 6, and let's just say hypothetically that we would have all the players in, everyone registered, everyone paid, they're good to go. So previously, before the update with EZLeagues here for the new user interface, if something like this happened, where teams 4 through 1 were already brought over, teams 5 and 6 would not automatically update into EZLeagues. What you would have to do is go into EZLeagues and you would have to delete the entire league, or you would have to delete the entire tournament and republish it. So it would now include teams 5 and 6, right? So now what you're able to do here, if I simply check off the box for teams 6 and 5, up above here, you can just say, okay, publish these subgroups to EZLeagues as teams, right? Now, if you're tracking player stats or you just simply want to show the players on there as well, you could do this one where it publishes the team, but it would also publish the players over as well. But let's say we just stick with the team here. I can hit apply. And now those 2 teams are brought over as well. So much easier to bring over new teams that registered. I know a lot of you sometimes like to just get the league published into EZLeagues so you can start to set things up there a bit earlier. You're now able to do that more easily. You can simply bring those teams over when you need to. So have those options there as well. The only thing that you would still have to be aware of, right, is if you publish those 4 teams over, you already created a schedule with them. If you now need to include teams 5 and 6 in that schedule, you would potentially have to update or redo the schedule itself, but overall, you would just have to make that one change. Besides that, a lot easier to make those updates, right? And you would also see from here, if you for some reason had to remove something from EZLeagues, like we just have to remove the entire league or we have to remove a certain team from here, you can make those updates and those changes as well. So not as much back and forth. You can make those updates a bit more easily. And you, of course, have the other options here. You can export the information, move the groups, email them. Do also generate score sheet. If we had a full-blown player stats and score sheet with all the standings entered in, if I choose team 6, or actually, sorry, if I choose team 6 and 5 here, right, 2-team minimum for that, you could then open up the PDF, right? And from there, it would simply list down all of the players that are on that team, and it would include any potential player stats that you would be tracking from there as well. So have options for that too as well. Okay, so let me take a look at some of the other questions we have here. And okay, so why does the banner on individual tournaments say league instead of tournaments? Okay, so if I guess, Jim, if you're referring to like when something's published into EZLeagues, if you publish it as a tournament, but then like down here it's saying leagues or vice versa, that's just a matter of what you had the group name set as, right? You could publish something as a league round robin, but it's very possible that you maybe enter that as a tournament name or vice versa. If you're referring to something else, please drop that in and let me know. But yeah, really, that would all just depend on what you have that titled as. Okay, then we have another one here. Okay, so what league types are available? We have leagues, or I'm assuming this is meant to be, we need leagues broken up into multiple rungs with teams moving up and down. This is due to limited venue size. So great question there. So let me jump back to groups here. So essentially, as far as the types you can publish over to EZLeagues, right? I'm going to go into, let's say this winter league here. And I'll go into publish to EZLeagues here. So initially where you're deciding what you're really publishing over there, as far as the types, you would have right up here at the top of publish to EZLeagues. So in here, right, you have league round robin. That's just your basic league setup. Where just a round robin tournament, you set that up for a date range. You can say they're playing this number of games for this length of time. Tournament single and double elimination, where you're creating a bracket, right? And it's single, double elimination there. You have tournament round robin, which is sort of the same thing as a league round robin, but it's set up in more of a bracket style. So you would have this here. Then you get down to things like pool play and 3 games guaranteed. Now, a 3 games guaranteed, right? As you see here, it's saying 8 teams only. That's allowing you to create a tournament, but they, like it says there, they need to play at least 3 games, right? Pool play is just where they're all sort of going in one bracket together. So pool play, I would say, is actually what I get the most questions on. A lot of people would see pool play and they think that is how you could set up a World Cup style tournament, right? Now through EZFacility, through EZLeagues here, right, you would not really be able to create a World Cup style tournament, right, where you can publish over a massive parent group with group A, B, C, D, E, for example, as subgroups. Then you have 4 or 5 teams in those, right? If you wanted to do that, you would have to publish all of those, once again, like group A, let's say through group F, have to publish all of those over separately, individually. Then once you've done that, you would manage those schedules, and then at the end of it, you would take those winners and move them into a new group. So it's not really built for that. The pool play can do that, but it's with one group at a time there. So EZLeagues isn't able to really manage the World Cup style tournaments. If you had to do something like that through here, I would say the better route to take for that is just to manually create the schedule for that through EZLeagues compared to publishing it over through there. But for the most part, it's round robin options, and then you have things like double and single elimination options as well. So I would say for the most part, those are your main options as far as the types and styles that you can bring over here. Okay. Okay, so this is a great question. How do you create a playoff schedule after a league season is complete? So what I always say to clients in trainings or in support, right? Like we for example, have this baseball league here, right? So I would go down, I would hit generate schedule. I believe there's already a schedule created for this, so that's why it's giving me this crash page, but I'm just going to hit resume session here. And I'll go back to dates and times here. So when you initially create this schedule for a league or tournament, whatever it is through EZLeagues, I would highly recommend that the dates you set up here right? We enter the start date here. If I would then go to settings here, you say total number of games here, set this up as the regular season. The reason I would recommend that is because let's just say, for example, it's the regular season's 10 games or 10 weeks total. You could put 12 here, right? Maybe it's an additional 2 weeks for the postseason of the playoffs, right? No problem. But the issue with that is on the public site, it will then show the dates for the postseason, but it's going to show matchups that maybe those will be the matchups, but you have no way to guarantee that beforehand, right? So what I recommend when you create the schedule through here, just have this as the regular season. After you have created that here, and let's say maybe as you get closer to the postseason or to the playoffs there, right? Go, you're in the league, go to add games here, and I would recommend manually adding that game in. And the reason why is you'll see this is all from, this is all from the schedule we created there as you normally would. They're all saying regular by default. If you manually add a game here, right, you can simply choose the teams here, right? But then you get to game type, you can mark this as postseason, right? Maybe this is the quarterfinals, for example, right? You would enter in the dates here, right? Maybe this is the maybe a little bit further out, like mid-January, for example, right? Enter the times here. But this way on the public site, it will now read as postseason and quarterfinals to the clients there, right? So that way you can be a bit more accurate as far as what that's showing. Now, the reason I'm saying obviously wait till you get closer to you know what that is because you have to put teams in here, right? So as you get closer to that, you could then enter those dates, and we'll even see down here. I think, yeah, I put it up here. I put it in between there, but I can of course go back in. Let's say we actually bring that out to maybe first Sunday in February there, and update that here. So that's what I recommend for the postseason. Just enter those times in after the fact. You can be a bit more accurate with it, and on the public site, it will show more appropriately to them as well. So gives you more control there overall. Actually go into the league here. Let's take a look at the schedule. Right, as I scroll the way down, postseason, quarterfinals, so able to be more accurate with that. Okay, and then, okay, another question here. Is it possible to edit sport data? For example, edit 3v3 indoor soccer. So I'm assuming that's a question. Could we enter something in like a 4v4 soccer, or could that just be like 3v3 soccer, for example? I would say if you want updates, like as far as the types of sports we could have, I'm just going to jump back to groups here. If you're referring to the types of sports, I would say just give support a call or submit a ticket to support, letting them know what type of sport you would like to be entered in, or maybe like I said, it's not 3v3 indoor, you would just rather it say 3v3 soccer, maybe 3v3, other options there. Any updates or features you'd like to have introduced like that, I would just say submit a ticket to support and let them know, and they can pass that along. The other thing you could do for something like that, and this is in general for everything, whenever you are logged into your new UI, your new user interface account here, at the bottom, you can hit give feedback, right? And you can select, is this just feedback, or do you maybe think you found a bug? But something like that, you could type in here saying, hey, I'd like to maybe have this introduced. Someone from support or someone from dev would then respond back to you and they'll talk with you about that further. So I would say in general, any feedback, whether it's for a bug or just something you'd like to see introduced or improved upon, certainly pass those along, or if you're here at the bottom right of your page. Okay, and then Rob, you were following up on the playoff schedule there, but that does not set up a playoff bracket. Okay, so right, as far as the playoff dates, you could manually enter that here. Now, if you want to have the playoffs set up as a bracket, right, what you would need to do for that, and I'm just going to back into the winter league here, for example, right? So we have a total of 8 teams in this league, right? Let's just say hypothetically that it's the top 4 teams, right? These top 4 teams, they'll be the ones introduced into the playoffs there. So in order for that to appear as a bracket, right, you need to take these 4 teams here, right, and you would need to move them, or you could duplicate them, right? But either way, you would have to move them or duplicate them into a new group. Because by doing that, moving these over to a new parent group, right, you could then publish that group, or let's say that tournament, and then from there, publish it over as you normally would as a tournament single elimination or as a tournament double elimination, and you could then have it appear as an accurate bracket. So great question there, Rob. If you wanted to appear as an actual playoff bracket after the league is finished, you need to take those teams, move them into a new group or a new parent group, let's say, and then publish it over as a tournament style. And from there, you could go ahead and create the bracket. So that would be my main recommendation there. Why is home on top and away on bottom results in score input errors? So great question there, Jim. That's something that the development team is aware of, and they're continuing to make improvements about that towards the public site and just generally speaking, the EZLeagues side of things as well. So I'll pass it along on my end as well again, but they are looking into that and they'll be updating that in the near future. Okay, and is there a way to add officials to games in bulk? Right now, I have to click on every game individually and assign them. So great question there as well. For officials, you have to initially go out to administration. You have the officials here, right? And you would have to manually enter them in from here. As far as adding them or attaching them in mass or in bulk, can't do that as of right now. You would have to go to the league or the tournament itself and find those games and enter them in, or go to something like managed scores and you could at least see through managed scores what matchups are currently going on and through there, add them as well. But currently cannot add them in mass. But DK, that would be a great piece of feedback to pass along to our team here as well. I have that jotted down here to pass along as well. All right, and just looking through some more questions here. Have there. Can we import schedules via a CSV? So great question, DK. Generally speaking, the things we're able to import into the software in general, for the most part, we're able to import clients, basic location content info, maybe memberships if you offer memberships there. We are also able to import POS information. So your inventory, right? General inventory, items, apparel, brands, things like that, merchandise, snacks, drinks. As far as importing a schedule, we're not able to import schedules there. Those would be things you would have to introduce here on your own. But great question there. Okay, taking a look at a few other questions here. Okay, so scheduling games for one league across multiple different days and times. Okay, so that's a very good question as well. So I'm going to jump back to one of our, we'll jump back into the baseball summer season here. Okay, so once I'm going to open up this example here. So, for example, this league right now is every Sunday, and there's games at 1 and 2 p.m. But let's say this league needed to operate, let's say it's every Saturday and Sunday, but let's say Saturday's games are at 4 and 5, but Sunday's games are at 1 and 2. So when you create a schedule here, right, especially for the leagues, if you have 2 or more dates chosen and they're all at different days and times, right, you won't be able to publish them like that. This would only work if Saturday and Sunday's times were exactly the same, right? So what I would recommend for a situation like that is choose all your days here. And I would say enter in the times for one of those dates, right? If these are the times for Sunday, publish these over and leave it for Saturday there as well. When you would then publish this, right, I would just recommend going to edit games and just go into those Saturday times and update those times manually through there. So if you have a league or a tournament, there are different, well, tournament not so much because that's obviously with a bracket you can introduce whatever times there you want, but for a league, especially if there are multiple days with different dates and times, initially try to publish over as much of those as you can, at least for 1 or 2 of those days. And then once you have the schedule created, you can manually make some edits there. Okay, within registration for our leagues, I'd like to add a custom form field. Is that possible? So yes, you can definitely attach and enter in custom fields to the registration forms, and even for other things too. So when you're logged into your EZ Facility account, you can go to administration. Underneath, you could then go down to client settings. And underneath that, you could then go to contact preferences. So for most accounts, right, you will see 3 columns here, right? Now, client options, this is only referring to if you were to manually enter a client here yourself. Online registration is specifically for a group registration page. And then self-service is just any updates you make here would, of course, just affect if a client registers a profile by themselves, what they would fill out through there. So anything for the groups, you would modify, really look at this middle column here. So any updates you make here would affect every group that you have overall. You wouldn't be able to make individual updates to form fields for specific groups or subgroups. This is all or none for all of the groups you would have here. So that's really the main thing to be aware of there. I obviously have a legend up here, so anything in blue just won't show up or won't appear at all. Green is included, or basically it's optional, up to the client. And then red, of course, is required. They have to fill out that info. And anything in gray, as a general note, is really just locked in place, meaning like first and last name, obviously that's required. We need to know their name. So if I try to move that to included or not included, I can't change that. But if I, for example, go to zip code, move that to included, I am able to. So anything locked in place like that is always with good reason. You also have it locked in place for email. Obviously, they need to give their email in order to sign up to the group there. And you would, of course, want to require their date of birth when they sign up for these leagues or tournaments as well. So that's always with good reason. You have custom fields down here you can modify. You can enter in, require demographics, some of that information down here as well. So great question there, DK. Okay, I currently create schedules on another site and manually enter them into EZ. Yeah, like I mentioned before about the importing schedules, we're not really able to import the schedules. You would have to manually fill those in. right. Okay. Uh, with with the new interface, well, you have the option to make registration specific to a membership base. So I'm assuming that's, can you create a group with online registration fees that would be not member and non-member rates? So you can technically do that, right? But you would have to control that internally, right? You could enter in fees in online registration, right? And you can title them as member and non-member, but it wouldn't recognize when the person registers if they're a member or not. So I would say I would recommend controlling that internally, but also that's a great piece of feedback. I have that down here, and I will certainly recommend you guys to pass that forward as well there. Okay. Do players registered on a team in EZLeagues get game schedule reminders the day before their event? So that's a great question. If you're in EZLeagues, you'll notice in the Your Data section, you have email alerts. So this is exactly for that, right? You can set up a first reminder. You can set up, maybe that's a little bit further back, you can set up a first reminder, set up a second reminder, right? And as long as the players were registered into that group, and as long as you then as a facility, as a staff member, published those players over to EZLeagues, they will get those reminders as well. This one down here could also enable game change alerts. If you postpone a game, if you cancel a game, or if you reschedule a game, you just move it to a different day or time, everyone on that team or everyone in that group, respective group, would be notified as well. So email alerts, that is exactly what you would have there. There's also email alerts in EZ Facility, but that's more for any sessions you would have, like trainings or classes you would have scheduled through here. Okay, does EZLeagues provide live scoring for hockey? Okay, so I mean, as far as providing live scoring, that would just be a matter of you going to the league or the tournament itself. Like if I go to baseball summer season here, when you go to edit games, right, you can open up the edit pencil here, and at the bottom, right, you could go through here and enter in the score. So technically, yes, you can enter scoring in for any sport. But if when you're saying live scoring, if you're referring to auto updates, not really an auto update, you would just have to manually input those scores here. When you would scroll down, you can confirm both scores, maybe put overtime or extra minutes if it went to additional time there. When you would save the game, right? If we then jump out to, I'm just going to refresh the public site here. When you go to the schedule, right, you'll then see the score updated out here as well. So yeah, you can enter scoring in for really any sport here. And actually, if I'm in administration, you have sports here. So I sort of touched on this before. If there is a sport or an activity that your facility does, you potentially have to see if that could be introduced, submit that as feedback, or potentially submit a ticket to support, and we can investigate that. I will be honest with all of you, there are some sports here I myself have never even heard of, so there are plenty of options here. But yeah, so if we scroll down here, right, we'll see there's ice hockey. I'm sure if we scroll down further, there's things like inline hockey. There might even be an option for like, other options here. There's a whole bunch of options here, whole bunch of different sports there. So hockey, basketball, baseball, football, laser tag, kickball, can jam, plenty of options. So feel free to pass along any request that you'd like to see. Okay. Okay. So we'll keep it open for a few more moments here for any questions that come through. Just as another reminder, right, whenever you're logged into EZ Facility, the question mark here, you also have the same one in EZLeagues, either one. Once again, you can go in here, look through any questions you may have. And then obviously once we upload the webinar here, I would say give that about a few days there. I would say by tomorrow or at the very latest next Monday or this upcoming Monday, you'll see that uploaded here as well. All right, and I would say we'll certainly be doing future webinars, especially as we get into the new year as well. Just to mention again, the dev team still, will be introducing some updates and is actively working on the public side and EZLeagues as a whole here. So we'll send out emails to everyone when those updates and new features or revisions are entered in here. And I would safely assume that I will most likely be doing another webinar on EZLeagues here in the near future. All right. All right, well, we will wrap it up here for today. Once again, thank you all so much for joining me here. Like I said, be on the lookout. We'll send out emails for the webinars and when new revisions or updates are introduced here. Once again, any feedback you'd like to pass along yourselves to the dev team, I certainly have some of that marked down here and I'll pass it along, but it always helps greatly when you guys are able to pass that along as well. When you're logged into EZ Facility in the new user interface, you'll go down here to give feedback. Select the level of feedback here, right? Is it just general feedback or is it a bug you think you found? Either way, pass it along. That'll go right out to our development team and they will actively look into that as well. So thank you all for joining us once again today. Hope you all have a great day, a great weekend, and we will talk soon. Take care, everyone.